Natalie Sideserf here, Sideserf Cake Studio, and I'm going to show you how I made a cake of SANS from Undertale. My nephew Patrick is visiting us in Austin this week, and it happens to be his birthday. So I finally get to make him a birthday cake. I'm going to show you how to sculpt a cartoon cake head and a cartoon cake body, and then stack the head on the body. So what's great about this is that you're going to learn techniques that you can use to make all kinds of cartoon character cakes. So let's get started. Let's start with the body. I have rectangle layers of cake that are trimmed down. They are 6 inches by 7 inches. So I do a layer of cake and a layer of cherry buttercream, layer of cake, layer of cherry buttercream. So I stack that up and I have 4 layers of cake. Next, I carve the cake. I start by kind of rounding out the top edges, and then I go in and I round out those corners. I recommend trimming a little at a time. It's a lot easier to trim the cake away, but if you take too much off, you're in a little bit of trouble. For the back of the cake, I just rounded out the edges. I kept it pretty flat. You can see the front is a little bit more rounded, kind of like a belly. Oops. Drop some buttercream. That's okay. You just put it right back on the cake. So now I'm doing a crumb coat. Basically, you put a blob of icing on there and you just spread it down the sides until the entire cake is covered. This is going to seal in the moisture for the cake, but also it gives us a nice smooth texture that we can cover in modeling chocolate. Now we're going to stack the cake for the head. These are rectangle layers of cake, but they are 6 inches by 5 inches, so they're slightly smaller than the body. And I just have a thin cardboard cake board that I stacked it on. Just like the body, I want to round out the top. And then I went in and added, they have a bit like a cheekbone almost. It's almost like a barbell shape. So it goes in slightly in the center, and then I round out the corners. You can see it's kind of like a little cartoon skull already. And for the back, I just want those edges to not be so sharp, so I round those sides out. And now the crumb coat. So here's your layer of buttercream. Starting from the top, I work it down to the sides. If you're ever having trouble crumb coating your cake, go ahead and refrigerate it. I get a little impatient, so I don't really refrigerate it that often, but it is helpful, especially when you first start. Now I'm cutting the cake board away. So I want to keep that cake board on there for support later, which you'll see will stack the cake. So I just cut away the excess cake board. And next I cover in modeling chocolate, so that's what this white layer is. You want to pull on the skirt while you tuck it and push it up against the cake. So keep working the chocolate around and then trim away that skirt. Sometimes I just pick the cake up and try to work the chocolate over it. Now where the chocolate gathered, you can just pinch it and cut it off. And then it's really easy to blend because we are using modeling chocolate. Fondant would be a lot tougher to do this, but with modeling chocolate, it blends really easily. So you just take a tool and smooth it out. Now we have a clean skull, and we're gonna go in and we're gonna start sculpting the facial features. I start by drawing out each of the features. So we have the eyes, and then the nose and the mouth. And if you mess up while you're doing this part, it's modeling chocolate, you can just go ahead and blend it out again. Those marks are very easy to clean up. Next, I took a little tool, it's kind of like a little spoon, and I'm scraping some of the chocolate away. The reason I'm doing this instead of just adding a black circle for the eye is because I want it to look like it's caved in like an eye socket. So I scrape some of that chocolate off, and if it pokes through to the cake, that's actually okay. because I'm just gonna cover it with black modeling chocolate in a minute. There's always ways to fix things. People always think that I get it right and perfect right away, and it's like, nope, throughout the process of every cake I make, there's always something I have to fix and adjust. I'm doing it all the time, and everybody always thinks it just ends up being perfect, but really, I make mistakes all the time. So now I've got that black modeling chocolate on there, and all I'm doing is pushing it into the edges, and then I add some for the nose. Once you have the black on, you're gonna wanna add some raised areas. So I took a piece of chocolate and I wanna have the nose come out slightly. And also I wanna add some chocolate underneath so I can add these bags under his eyes. I have a picture of him and I can see he has these lines under his eyes. And I also wanted to emphasize his brow bone, so I added a little more chocolate around there. So it's just adding a little bit of dimension. It doesn't have to be a ton, just a little bit of dimension really makes it look cool, rather than just leaving it flat. So I add some chocolate for the upper lip as well. I wanted to have that flare out a bit. And then I added little balls for the cheeks because I wanted a little bit more emphasis on his smile. You just take a ball of modeling chocolate, place it on, and blend it. And then his little white pupils, which I love, I think it just makes it look so much better. Like most cakes, once you add the eyes, it looks great. So for the body, I'm gonna start with the white t-shirt. You don't have to cover the entire thing in white because he's gonna have a blue jacket on. So I'm just covering that area around the chest. And then here I have some blue fondant. You could definitely use modeling chocolate. I prefer modeling chocolate typically, but I just happen to have some blue fondant available, and I thought I might as well use it for this since this is for my nephew. He doesn't mind. He says I can use whatever I want, so. So I place it on, smooth it out, try to hide those seams as best I can, and then I trim away the excess skirt. All right, now to add the pockets, you just take a pointed tool and you draw them in. And then I added a line around the bottom as well. And then go ahead and add the next pocket. I don't even think it's necessary to put an extra piece on there. A lot of times I'm just sculpting with what's already on the cake, that thin layer of either fondant or modeling chocolate. All right, now I'm going to make his hood. So this is gray modeling chocolate. I placed a piece of gray modeling chocolate on for the hood, and then I just went around and sort of tucked it under. So it had like a bit of a hood feel to it, or like a cloth. And then I added some wrinkles with a sculpting tool. You would want to use modeling chocolate for this because fondant won't tuck and sculpt the same way. I think this was important to make out of modeling chocolate. I added little dots, and that's where the strings on the hood are gonna go. So rolled up white modeling chocolate, I just place it right on and push it down. Trim it away. So it's got two of those, of course. And then you add the zipper, which is just a strip of gray modeling chocolate. So you just place that on and blend it into the hood. And then you add little horizontal marks to represent the zipper. And then you do it to the other side, of course. This looks like an outfit I would wear. Who knew? So this is a straw, and this is going to help support the head. Because the head it's a pretty heavy cake. So I need to put 3 straws in there at least that will help keep that from sinking into that bottom body cake. Just place them in, trim them, and then place the head on. You can see it's very sturdy. Then I take a wooden dowel, make sure it's sharpened, place it in, then it needs to be sharpened so that it can go through that cake board. Remember, we have that cake board supporting the head. So it goes through that cardboard cake board until it reaches the bottom. And then add a little dot of modeling chocolate to cover up that hole. Now I'm gonna add the chin. And I saved it for later because I wasn't exactly sure how the head was gonna line up with the body. I wanted to make sure that the chin looks like it's hiding any kind of cake board, and it looks like the head is connected to that body, even though we all know it's not. So I blended that chin in, and it overlaps over the hood slightly. It looks exactly how I want it to. You can take a pointed tool and go in and define the mouth a little more, and then use that same tool to add the teeth, which are just vertical lines. He has one line in the center, and then two to the right and two to the left. Next, you just take some water and you paint it on the side. These are gonna be his arms, and his hands are tucked into his pockets. So I just took a chunk of fondant and I went in, placed it on, and then sculpted it a bit to make it look like his hands are in his pockets. Now, if I made arms that were any larger than this, I would probably have to add some kind of support in there because they do get heavy. Fondant will get a little too heavy and it can start to sag or fall off. But these were just light enough that I was able to stick them on just with water. And there you have it, a SANS cake. Perfect for my 7-year-old nephew. Happy birthday, Patrick. Before I go, I want to mention my Patreon. Our community is really growing, so if you want to get behind the scenes access, then head over to patreon.com/sideserfcakes. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel because we put out new videos just like this one every Monday.